This is an overview, well as a review, I guess, of the functions on the transmitter. This is a Futaba T3PV, or Futaba 3PV. And this is actually a very good transmitter. So I have two. This is number 2, as you can tell. Guess what other number the other one is? 3. No, I'm kidding, it's 1. But when you engage it, one of the basic things that you have is you have the voltage for the TX, so TX transmitter, so that's this radio. You have the model number, and then you have whatever you're operating, so that would be the system. So it depends on your not the ESC, the RX, your receiver, you will see it here. So that just depends on which receiver you're using, what will appear here. Now, if you're using something, for example, like a, let me try to think, R203, that one is not compatible with telemetry, so it'll look just like this. If you're using something that is telemetry enabled, I believe it's a 304, 314, I believe it's a 314, that one will display up here, just above this, it'll display the voltage for the RX. So RX, the receiver, so that's your onboard voltage for the receiver, which on a nitro vehicle, very, very important. Now this is not telemetry enabled, that's pretty much the only thing that you're gonna get. If you want something that's telemetry enabled, you have to go up a few models. So if you're running a nitro and you want temperature, RPM, etc., you're gonna have to get one of the other models. But if it doesn't matter and you've tuned everything, geared it right, and you know what the temperature generally is depending on the ambient temperature, this would be good enough. So this is a great radio for a starter or somebody that you really know your vehicle, whatever you're running. As of this video, they are about $150. You can find discount codes from time to time, you just have to shop for them. But the first thing is model. So you can select a model 6, right? I can go down to model 5, so this is my Euro truck, right? You can create new ones, up to 10 vehicles. Now the 6th one, this is actually a bogus one I was just messing around with, but you just use these to switch back and forth, and then if you click it again, so let's just say we're there, I'll click it again, now I'll go to the letters, so I can go up or down, right? And it just loops. So it'll be letters, numbers, symbols, or maybe it's symbols, numbers. No, letters, numbers, symbols, yes. So you can use different symbols. Oops, sorry. And then to go from here to here, you just use the wheel. Right, we have symbols, numbers, letters. Use the wheel. Switch to the next one. Now, really quick, if you do this, it's gonna work perfectly. But if you go fast, so I'm gonna go right and then let it go. See, it kind of went and then came back. And the reason why is because this is going right, but then it's bouncing a little to the left. That's the reason, so keep that in mind. Now, once this is set, you can move on to the next setting. So your voltage alarm. This will produce an audible warning once you drop to 4.2 volts. You don't really need it. Just pay attention to your screen. Right there. Plus, you shouldn't be dropping below 4.6 anyway. If you do drop below that, you need to charge the battery or just replace batteries if you don't have a rechargeable battery. So if you have dry batteries, something you would buy over the counter, replace them. This, right, UC5, just charge it. All right, so let's go back. We already went through those settings. That's your voltage alarm. So that's something I generally, honestly, I really just ignore. This is based on the receiver that I'm using. Now, if you are interested, I'm trying to remember. I have a video on how to link with the 203 receiver, and then I have another one on how to link with the, I don't remember if it's a 304 or 314 for the nitro. Now for those, you have to engage the link. I'm not going to go over it in this video, but you can check out those other videos on how to pair receivers. Now here we have, so the DT3, really quick. This is DT1, DT2, DT3. This is where you decide what you're going to control with this. So you can either control dual rate, so that whenever you move this, it does your dual rate up or down, or you can just turn it off, or go to channel 3 actually. Wait, sorry. So use plus and minus, so now it's channel 3. Now it's back to that, now it's channel 3, and it doesn't matter, you can just do plus plus. Doesn't matter. So dual rate or channel 3. Now, channel 3, that's if you're running an actual third channel. So you could run a third channel for a variety of reasons. Let's just say it's a nitro vehicle. Channel 1 will do the front steering. And then channel 2 will do generally throttle and brake, but maybe you're going to be running some mixing in there, and you're going to have a servo for throttle and a servo for brake. So you'd want to adjust servo 3, or you're running a winch, let's say a crawler, channel 3, right? Or you're running a vehicle, I don't know, rock racer or something, where you have steering in the front and the rear. Those are the reasons why you would use channel 3, and then this would be the switch to engage channel 3, which I'm not sure if you can really see. So SW1, that's what that is. So that's that setting. Now I'm just going to leave it off. I don't really need it. And then here you would run the adjustments on channel 3. So you can go low, so -100. That's what it is now. And well, let's see, I turned it off, so it's not going to work. It's off. Let's engage it. All right, now let's do this. There we go. So you can use this, or you can use, here we go. Nope, okay, I have to use that. Let me go back, sorry. All right, so you can just use this, just press and hold, and it will keep going and going and going. And the beeping can potentially get annoying, but there we go. Now we're on the positives, so you just keep going and you can be on the positives. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 0, not that it matters, I'm going to delete it. But now we're going to go over to trim. So trim, let's just say you install your servo. So this is trim channel 1 right now. Now trim channel 1, we can just use this, right? This plus, minus, right? So we go to the right, we go to the left. And you don't even have to be in this menu, you can just use this and it'll go to that screen and then go away. Or you can use this, the plus or minus. Now notice one of the differences when I use this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It keeps going up, it goes much farther than that. All right. If I use this, it jumps to 2. So that's something to keep in mind. I'll look to channel 2. All right, so what this is for is steering servo. Let's just say you set your steering servo horn, everything is linked up, you're good, and your wheels are like this. So you want to add steering trim to the right. So you would click that, click, 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 you're set. Or maybe it's the other way, click, 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 click. So now you add trim to the left and you're set. That's what the steering trim is for. Now, to be honest, if you go over 50% of that steering trim, or even if you go to 100, I don't know why you would go that high. Just take either lengthen the link or shorten it depending on which way it's gonna go, or pop the servo horn out, go over a tooth, put it back in, and then work with the trim. You really shouldn't have that much trim. Even if you can go really high on the trim, don't use too much trim because you may exhaust all of the trim. But that would be channel 1. And then channel 2, this would be for throttle and brake. Now here's the thing, on your ESC, this isn't really an issue. This should be at 0, and the reason why is with an ESC, you need to calibrate your transmitter and ESC. Hobbywig is pretty easy, right? You hit the button, engage it, lights come on, full throttle, click. Sorry, it's neutral, click, full throttle, click, and then full brake, click, and then it'll beep, and then it's linked. So then you're good. So then the ESC and transmitter will be programmed to where neutral, full, full. But if you're running nitro, for example, again, you have a servo for throttle brake, you may have to adjust that trim as well for that very reason. So you have a trim on 2, trim 1, trim 2, and then trim 3, again, if you're running a third servo or a third something, and you need the trim. Now we get over to DR. So DR stands for dual rate. Now here it's at 100%. So dual rate, let's just say it's your steering because it's channel 1. The way dual rate works is the following. Let's just say this is one of your tires, right? And if you go full steering, it'll go to here, all right? So what dual rate will do is the following. You've already, first you need to calibrate your endpoints, which is coming up. I'll show you that. Now, once you calibrate your endpoints, let's just say this is your endpoint, but you find that, you know, whenever you're driving, you get too happy and you can't really stop before the end. So you always end up oversteering and then spinning out. So what you can do is you can turn the dual rate down. And what that will do is, let's just say this is your tire, that's the endpoint. So instead of, whenever you go full input, instead of going all the way to here, it will actually only go, say, to here. So your transmitter knows what the endpoints are, so now it can just adjust the dual rate, meaning how far it goes one way or the other. And that's what it's for. Maybe you just wanted to steer here. I don't know why. Well, not to scale, right? I was saying this is so close, but you know, maybe something here that can make a difference. So that's what dual rate is for. And we have it here. So here it's at 100, which means it's going to go all the way to the endpoints. And you can adjust the, oops, sorry. There we go. So you can go down, just use the plus or minus. So that's your dual rate for your steering. Now we're going to go to EPA. Now EPA, this is your trim. This is what you want to set, sorry, I said trim, endpoints. This is what you want to set first before your dual rate, which makes me wonder why this is second to the dual rate. So EPA, this will be steering. Let's say, I don't know, this is the ideal endpoint. And when you steer all the way to the right, you go over here and you hear a winding sound, like an electric winding sound. That means that your servo is trying to pull the steering or push the steering farther than mechanically capable because something is in the way. Well, you've probably hit the end of the mechanical capacity of your actual steering rack. So what you do is you turn down the endpoints so that it stops. I mean, if you go all the way to 0, it'll go back to here, right? But let's just say that was 100 and it was making that whining noise. You can bring it back down to, say, 99, 80. And then once it stops making that noise, you're set, you're good at that position. Or if you notice that your steering is flexing too much, right, something's wrong, just bring it back to where it doesn't flex, everything looks neutral. Now you can also move it up to 120, so it means that, let's just say this is 100%, but you actually, this is 100%, but you need it to steer over here. You can go up to 120, and then it'll go over here. But if you're to here, and you're not, and it's 120 and you're not here, you need to get either a longer servo horn or something else is wrong. So check your system, maybe something is hitting and it's not allowing this to continue, especially if it's there and you're hearing that whine. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm in the right. If I want to go left, just turn the wheel to the left. Now I can deal with the left side. Again, if you want to do the right, go to the right again. So this is 1. And again, that's to set your endpoints. So set your endpoints before you do the dual rate. Now, channel 2, you set the endpoints again for forward and brake. Now, again, if it's calibrated to an electronic speed control, you should be set. That should be at 100. It shouldn't matter. Because now they both know what is neutral and what is full, what's 100. But if you are running, for example, a servo for throttle and brake on a nitro, you want to set the endpoints. That's what this is for, right? Maybe the way it's set, it needs to move a little farther back for brake or a little farther forward for throttle because it's braking too much. You can do the same thing with channel 3 if you're operating a channel 3. So EPAs for endpoints. Now, for this little section here, so this is for mixing. Now, mixing, what that is for is if you're running that third channel, but you want to do something different. So, like I said, you have channel 1 for the front steering, channel 3 for the rear steering, and maybe they're steering in opposite directions or different rates. This one goes full, this one only goes 50% this way, right? Monster truck, it steers. Or let's just say you're running a nitro vehicle, but you're running 2 servos. One of them operates the throttle only and the other one operates brake only. So you could potentially operate some brake and throttle at the same time. Maybe you're trying to do that on purpose to decrease the delay that the clutch engages because it'll be spinning a little faster, getting ready, and the clutch is already engaged, just the brake is stopping the vehicle. Or maybe it's not even that. Maybe you have normal idling motor, nothing. You just want more brakes so that it doesn't roll down or roll up. Anyway, this is for mixing. That's what that is for. Reversing. So this is for reversing the channels. So channel 1, let's say you go right? The vehicle is going, you go right, but it steers left. Or you go left and it steers right. Well, you just go in here and you just reverse the channel. And that's it. Or you bring it back to normal. Now you can use the plus or minus, it doesn't matter. Now you can do the same thing with channel 2. Now this one gets tricky on electric vehicles, and by tricky, it's not really tricky. What ends up happening is the following. Let's just say you have an electric vehicle. All right, so your electric car, I can use this little T-wrench. You go full throttle and it takes off in reverse. So you can reverse it here. So if you reverse it here, then you go full throttle and then it'll go forward. And that solved the issue, maybe. What can happen is the following. Let's just say you go full throttle and it goes in reverse. And then you brake, it stops. Then you let go and you go brake again. So now it goes the other way. If that's the case, reverse the channel. But let's just say you go full throttle and it goes in reverse, and then you go full brake and it just takes off the other way. So that's not a transmitter problem, that's actually an ESC. So you have to go into the ESC and reverse the rotation of the motor in the ESC. So once you do that, this is working fine. And the reason why is when you go full throttle, it should go one direction. Once you go full brake, it should just stop. And then you go again, then it should change directions. But if you go full throttle and then brake and it just takes off the other direction, the issue is in the ESC. So reverse the rotation. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. So you have to play with those with this one. Whereas steering's pretty straightforward. Channel 3, again, you can reverse it as well. That's what this is for. Now, Expo, this is for your steering. So what Expo does, think about it as an exponential graph. So let's just say this is the, well, I guess, y-axis, x-axis. And this is time or input. So say 0 to 100% input, right? So 0 to 100% input. And then this is how much force it will apply. So you can have, so this would be a linear graph, right? Which means that, let's just say this is a straight line. So if you do 50% of the force, 50% of the input will give you 50% of the force. Well, 0, 0, 50 is 50, 100 is 100. All right. Now 0 will always be 0, 100 will always be 100. The question is what happens in the middle? Is it linear? If you give it 25%, does it give you 25% power? 50, 50, 75, 75? Or do you change it slightly or do you change it a lot to where, let's say, 25% input only gives you 10% power, 50% only gives you, say, 40, but then 70% actually gives you 90, and then 100 gives you 90. Or you can do the opposite. So this would be not very sensitive in the beginning, and then it would be very sensitive toward the end. So not very sensitive, not very sensitive, super sensitive all of a sudden. Same, left and right. Or you can shape it the other way to where it starts doing this, to where it's more sensitive in the beginning and then not as sensitive at the end, which would mean, let's just say you apply 25%, but 25% actually gives you 40. So 25% input gives you 40% of the power, or the actual result. 50% would give you, say, 90, but then from 50% to 100, it's only that 10%, that small amount. So it's really, if you think about it, it's the relationship between the input and the output on the actual vehicle. That's what Expo is for. So you can do Expo on channel 1 and channel 2. And on channel 2, you can go up, you can go down. So it just depends if you want the curve to go up or you want to go down. That's what you're going to have. Now, here on the throttle, so if you go forward, it'll change it to forward. If you go brake, it'll change it to brake. So you can adjust the forward and the brake the same way. You can adjust it to where it's very sensitive, not so much, or not very sensitive, really sensitive. Or you can just have it linear. So you can do that on both brake. Oh, sorry, I want to go the other way. So you can do it on the steering. Now steering is going to be left and right. It's going to be the same. You can't choose the Expo to be different from turning right and turning left. But you can select forward or brake, the sensitivity for this one. Now, FS. So FS, this is going to be fail-safe. Now I have it off. You can engage fail-safe. Now fail-safe, electric cars, I don't really think you need to worry about it. I've never used it on electric cars, but on nitro cars, it's very, very important. And on nitro cars, fail-safe, what we'll do is the following. If the transmitter and the vehicle lose signal, so the receiver is no longer receiving a signal from the transmitter, what fail-safe does is you will pre-program a position. So let's just say this is neutral, right? There's no brake, no throttle, it's just idling. You can pre-program the fail-safe to where, let's just say this is brake, it has a certain input of brake. So what will happen is, say you're running full throttle, and then all of a sudden you lose signal. The servo is going to quickly go into that preset position, which happens to be brake. And the reason why this is important is, let's just say you do run out of signal. One, throttle's not stuck open. That's one thing. Or you don't really want it to go to neutral and then it's idling. The reason why is, let's just say you were going full speed. The car is going to keep rolling for a while. And you're not going to realize you ran out of signal, well, unless you tried inputting some steering and it didn't function, or brake and it didn't work. But the car will go. So really you want to set it at more of a braking point, but you don't want to exaggerate the braking or else you can crash, do a disaster. So it just kind of slows down the vehicle and brings it to a stop. And then once they're within range again, it'll take your inputs once again. So that's really what failsafe is for. So failsafe is really, again, for I would say more for nitros. It's very important. ABS, oh wait, fail-safe, yeah, so you can set the fail-safe. ABS, here we go, ABS. I have it off. Some people run ABS. I don't care for ABS. As far as I'm concerned, just learn to use the trigger. So ABS, it's just like car ABS. So car ABS, the way the anti-lock braking system works is if you brake really, really hard, but in order to avoid let's just say the tires from just locking up and skidding, what it'll do is it'll actually relieve some of the brake pressure and then reapply. So it actually does it super fast so that the tire, the whole wheel can still keep turning. Because you'll slow down faster if you take the wheel to just the edge, just before it wants to slide. That's how you actually brake faster, versus once you slide, given the change of inertia, you're not going to stop as easily. So this will do the same thing, but it'll do it with electrical pulses. So your motor will do, it'll kind of want to brake but not brake, or accelerate but not accelerate. Well, in this case, you're braking, so it would be braking, not braking, braking, not braking. If you like it, use it. I don't like it. I don't care for it. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm driving the vehicle and then I go from high grip to low grip, then I'll just release the brake and apply less brake. I'll try to control it this way. So just, learn to control the trigger finger. But it's up to you. Now over here you can copy cars. So the way this works is, let's just say you have a vehicle in destination 1 and you want to move it to destination 4. Or you just have a model in destination 4 and you want the exact same settings. Well, the top one is the one you're copying. The second one is the destination. So here we're on the top. Now you can select whatever, you can select whatever model you want. So let's just say I said 1 to 4. I think I said 1 to 4. Use the wheel. Oh, is it throttle on this one? What was the wheel? It is the wheel. I don't know what happened. Oh, I think I know what happened. That's what happened. All right, so again, go gently on the wheel. So this is how you go up, down, and then here, just select whatever model you want, say to 4. And then once you do that, I actually don't want to go to 4 because I have something in 4. I want to go to 6. So I'm going to copy 1, 2, 6. And then you go to your DT1 and you just push it, hold, copy, ing, it's copied. So now whatever settings I had for EPA, Expo, whatever it is, in 1 is now copied to 6. And those are just the basic settings and basic things that you can do with this. If you need other things, look at other models. For example, the 4, which is a good model. I think it's 4 MP. I forget. And then the 7 XCR, I believe, is the higher end. The middle one is just under $300, maybe about $270 as of the time of this video. And the other one is the $700 range. It just depends on the receiver. With receiver, no receiver, and then which receiver. But if you don't need all of the other settings and everything that this one has that I just explained, if that's all you need, this is really the way to go. And you can have 10 models in this transmitter. If you want something that can hold 40 models, then, well, you're gonna get the other transmitter. But if this is all you need, that's fine. Keep in mind, I do have 2. This is number 2, I have number 1. So I can have 10 and 10. And as I mentioned, it used to be because I used to have the same exact vehicle and then I would just lend it to somebody just so I had somebody to RC with. That's probably one of the reasons why I made this channel, so I could try to have people get into the hobby and stay in the hobby. But again, when it comes to price value, this is a very good transmitter. Now there are some other transmitters that you can look at. For example, Sanwa. They make very good stuff. I believe they bought Airtronics. But there are some other brands. Maybe you can go really, really inexpensive and get a Spectrum that isn't going to have all of this. You can get those for maybe about $50. This one, like I mentioned, it's about $150 as of this video with one receiver. Each receiver, I can't remember the price. They're usually around $40, somewhere around there. For additional vehicles. Again, it depends on the type of receiver, which model, is it the 203 or the 313, depending again on what you need. And once again, this is not telemetry enabled, but if you have a receiver, for example, I want to say a 304, 313 for sure, it will display the voltage for the receiver up here, which is something handy to have. I generally don't need it. For example, my T-Max, I can tell when my battery is low. And I can tell based on my steering. The steering starts really slowing down. Then I know my batteries need to be recharged in the onboard batteries. So it just depends if you need those features or not. But as far as reliable, this is reliable. The range is very good range. If you have a stock transmitter, for example, a Traxxas transmitter, this thing's gonna have probably double the range. Maybe more, maybe a little less, but yeah, it probably has double the range. I've never had an issue with these. I've had Futaba for almost 2 decades. My very first Futaba, I don't remember, I think it was 87, the crystals that I was running. Those were with the antennas you had to pull out section by section. Some people would just pull them out like this and then bend them. And then you had the little flag on top with the number for your crystals, so nobody would run the same number. And if you saw somebody with that number, then you swap the crystals and do something else. And then antennas were so long that if you accidentally turned with your transmitter and hit somebody else's antenna, your cars would go bonkers. So these 2.4s are actually way better. But I've never had an issue. So would I recommend this transmitter? Absolutely, I certainly would. Are there other transmitters that may be better for you? Yes, it depends on what features you want. I've already covered all the features, so it's pretty much up to you to decide if these are the features that you want or if you need more features. If you do not need more features, this is a great way to go. You can't go wrong. I need to charge this up. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!